Good morning, guys, and welcome back to another day of Dairy Sheep here at Diary of a Sheep Dairy Farmer. I am your host, Becca, and we are finally done with lambing. I feel like I can breathe again for the next 7 to 10 days before we start lambing again. But it will be a small group, a very small group. There are only 12 in this next group, and I'm pretty sure not all of them are actually bred. I will find out more in another couple days when I actually bring that group in and check them to see who is going to get or who is actually going to lamb, and yeah, go from there. I'm trying to put that out of my head for the moment and just decompress from this lambing group. Uh, it it it's definitely different having this small lambing group where I'm used to 80 to 100 ewes lambing at a time. Going from that to about 50 ewes lambing was, I don't want to say better, but definitely different. I didn't have a lot of sleepless nights, I will say that. It went very smoothly. Did not have the issues. Now, granted, my sheep don't usually give me issues. My sheep are very, very good about taking care of themselves and having lambs on their own, so I don't have to interfere. But this group went very, very smoothly to where they really didn't need me. Issues. What issues did I have? I had 3 stillborns in this group, which is still a lot for 50 head of sheep. And we had a lot of singles. A lot of singles. That's what we're going to talk about today. Why so many singles? I know why, but there's a lot of factors that play into that. As for my group, this group that lambed, I can just about guarantee the reason I had so many singles in this group is for 2 specific reasons. So let's go down the list of reasons as to why sheep have singles instead of having twins or triplets. First and foremost, genetics. Some sheep breeds are very prone to having singles. Dairy sheep are not. Dairy sheep can be quite prolific. They tend to have twins and triplets. Singles are, I don't want to say not common, but they're in the minority. You will normally find dairy sheep will almost always have twins and triplets. So genetics will play a big part in it, especially if you are bringing in non-dairy breeds into your flock. That will, which I do have some in my flock, I will admit that. So that will contribute to having singles. Another big factor would be age. If you are breeding, first time breeders, they will tend to have singles. Or if you have very old ewes that are at the end of their breeding cycle, you will see a decline in how many lambs that they will have. And so that is another factor to look into, is the age of your sheep. I talked to a friend of mine, and she has a much larger dairy than I do. Even when I had my 400 head, she had a much larger dairy than I did. And she does not keep anything past 6 years old. Once they hit 6, they go away. She says that at that point they start declining, and their milk production, their lambing production, and she just says it's where they have so many up and coming, it's just easier to cull the older ones and keep the younger ones. So I'm thinking that may be part of my issue, is I have so many older ewes in my flock. It might be time to start cycling through a few of these favorites that I have not wanted to get rid of. So age, genetics, then you have your nutrition, your condition of your sheep. If you have poor pasture quality, if you have your sheep out on pasture, if you've had like a drought year and your pasture is not that great before you've brought them in for breeding, or if you have had them on low quality hay before breeding, you didn't do any flushing, that will contribute to singles rather than twins or triplets. I don't think that was a factor. I know, with our hay season last year, we didn't have the greatest of hay, but our pastures were actually very good. So I wasn't too worried about that. I do know we didn't flush last year with everything else we had going on. So that could be a factor, is the fact that we didn't bother flushing. We just brought them in from pasture and put them into the breeding groups rather than trying to flush them. We just let them naturally come off the pastures and put them into the breeding groups, and then fed them some of the better quality hay that we got off of our cutting to kind of not necessarily flush them, but just give them a better quality hay while they were breeding. So that could be a factor that we didn't do a true flushing on them. And then along with nutrition, there is also the stress factor and the health of your sheep. So if your sheep are like overweight, that also can lead into why they could have a single. Overweight sheep are not going to produce twins because there's not enough room for them to have more than one lamb, or even one lamb if they are excessively overweight. So overweight sheep can definitely be a factor. Underweight sheep are definitely a factor. If your sheep don't have good body condition, they aren't going to be able to carry a lamb, much less two lambs. So you need to make sure that they've been fed correctly to be able to maintain that body weight, not only to have the eggs attach, but to keep that lamb through the entire cycle and produce two healthy lambs. Parasites could also be an issue. Fecal checks. Fecal checks are probably something. I don't do them. I probably need to. In fact, I know I need to. It's definitely something that every sheep farmer should do, just to know exactly what kind of parasites their sheep have and how to treat that. It's not that hard to do. It's a good thing to start doing. It's a good routine to get into, and it is definitely helpful. And it is really something I need to start doing, especially where I keep my sheep out on pasture 90% of the time. So that could be an issue. And then there's also, if your sheep are stressed during breeding, if you do a lot of handling of them, of moving them from one place to another, any type of stress on your sheep could result in a lower lamb count. I don't like being stressed out. I think anybody can relate to that. So less stress, better health conditions, better body conditions, and then your genetics, the age of your sheep. Oh, environment. Environment is is another factor. So depending on what your weather was like, we know sheep like it a little cooler, especially if they are seasonal breeders, like dairy sheep. Seasonal breeders like it to be cooler when they start breeding. I do know last year when we started breeding, it was a tad bit warm, and so heat will factor in to your breeding. And if your sheep are stressed because of the heat, then that can cause a lower conception rate in your ewes, which will also result in more singles than twins or triplets. So let's not forget the rams. Rams are also a factor. If you are using young rams, I have noticed, especially with my own rams, younger rams, they tend to throw more singles than my mature rams. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just because it's like the younger first time ewes. Um, it's just they're a little predisposed to it. I don't I don't know. I haven't done enough research into it to find out why. But I do know that when I use a ram that is younger, like a year or just about a year old or younger, 8 months to a year, I always will get singles from that ram. If I use a ram between a year and 2 years old, I have a way better chances of getting twins consistently out of that ram. Or if your ram is a lot older, again, coming toward the end of that lifespan, um, we're talking 10 years plus, which I do have some 8, 9, 10-year-old rams. They also, I notice, will throw some singles. And I think, again, it just has to do with age. And it's a thing. It's as we get older, things don't quite work as well as we would like them to. So that also has, and then of course the genetics in the rams. I have not noticed that my single rams, my singletons that I have kept as rams for myself, I have not noticed that any of them have consistently thrown more singles than they have twins or triplets. Um, I have not seen that has been a factor in my sheep. Um, I probably should go back and like run the numbers and see if that is actually a thing. Um, I know we've all heard the if a ewe has a single the first time that they lamb, they'll always have a single after that. I've never believed it. I've proven year after year after year with my sheep, it's not a thing. Is it in some sheep? Yes, absolutely. I have some ewes that all they ever throw me are singles. I have, and then some of them are my best ewes. I have, oh, in fact, my best milker. Okay, maybe she's not my best milker, but she's one of my top 5 milkers. She's a 2019 ewe. Um, every year, every year, every year that she has been bred, every year since I have had her, she's given me a single. Every year. This year, she gave me twins. For the very first time, she gave me twins. Do I understand genetics? Do I understand anything about sheep? No. If I did, I would know exactly why. For 5 years, she has given me singles, and this year she gave me twins. I would know how that happens. She was with the exact same ram she was with for the past 2 years, and the last 2 years she's given me singles, and this year she gave me twins. I know nothing. I don't pretend to know anything. I'm just here because I love sheep, and I love my dairy sheep. It makes no sense to me. Um, and I have had sheep that they will give me. In fact, one of my friendliest ewes, she was a single, and she does just give me singles, but they are fabulous. They have the best temperament, the best disposition, and now, granted, I haven't milked any of her lambs because this will be her third lambing, and or it will be when I breed her in July, and she will lamb in December. Um, but she, and I hope to be milking this year. I know I said that last year, and there's only one of me. I can only do so much. And I have broken parts and pieces all over my farm. I just, that's why we're picking projects this year, to get things fixed and get things moving forward and hopefully get things done this year so that I can be milking. But before I go off on a tangent that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about, um, with this ewe, I have milked her before. Um, and she is not, she's not my best milker, but she is one of my favorites just for her disposition. And I keep her because of that disposition that I'm hoping she continually keeps giving to her daughters. And that that is also a factor that I look for in my sheep. So even if they give me singles, I will keep those singles just because of what I look for that I want in my flock. So, what do I think this year was my issue and why I got so many singles? First, I do think it was the age of my sheep. I have a lot of 2018, 2019, and 2020 ewes in this group, and they are quite old, especially if we go with my friend who doesn't keep anything over 6 years old. Like I said, other than a couple exceptions, like the one that just gave me twins for the very first time, the majority of them gave me singles. A couple of one, in fact, one of my oldest ones gave me twins. And in fact, she's so old, she still has one of my original single digit tags before I started putting the year they were born on. So there are exceptions to the rules. Rules. Yeah, in quotes. I don't think there's any rules when it comes to sheep. We make it up as we go. So I do think that age is definitely a factor when it comes to my flock, because I know I have so many old ewes. Um, so I do believe I will have to do a culling this year of the older ewes. And then I think the other big factor besides the age probably was the heat during breeding season. Um, where it was so warm last fall, well, it was basically warm all winter. We really never had a winter this year. And so I think the heat played a big part into why I got so many singles as well. So hopefully, going into this next year, next fall, I will have younger ewes. I will have, the weather will cooperate, and we won't have quite as warm temperatures. Um, we did start shearing. So my husband has been a rock star. He has gotten through about half of this breeding group. We've got about 22, they're 20, yeah, 22 or 23 more to go to finish up shearing this breeding group, which is fabulous. That will just get us that much further along for shearing this year. Plan is to spend all of April getting everybody done that is out back. It's keeping our fingers crossed that we can get through everybody this year. That also could have, again, with the heat, been an issue because of where everything that we sheared last year we pretty much sold. And so we didn't quite get through the entire flock of what we were keeping. It was just of what we were selling. So again, add that into the heat and the stress and the all the issues. So we are little by little moving forward. And then I do think that, or I don't think the rams were an issue because I used the exact same 4 rams that I used last year. Oh, no, I lied. I did use the exact same 4 rams I did last year, but my old boy Bruno, he he is a 2019, 18, 19, 2019 ram. So he is an older ram. So he could be a factor. I don't have my list in my office. It is downstairs because that's where I was doing all of my note taking when I came up for lunch every day. Um, I will have to run the numbers and see if the majority of the singles were from him. And I will have to run the numbers and see what if he was part of the factor of the singles. All in all, it was a good group. It was very uneventful. Um, Eventually, I will get to running all of my numbers, how many singles I had, how many twins. I only had one set of triplets. I do know that much. I am not disappointed. I have always said I will always take one healthy lamb over no lamb or a dead lamb. So I will always be happy even if it's just a single, because that at least is a live lamb on the ground for mom to raise. For those of you who have started lambing or are just about to start lambing, I'd be interested to know how your season is going. Are you getting twins? Are you getting singles? Are you getting triplets? Hopefully your season is going better than mine, in that you are getting a lot more twins than singles, and that it will be completely uneventful. No stillborns, no issues. You won't have to pull any lambs. You won't have to stay up all night babysitting sheep. Let me know how your lambing seasons are going, and we will see you back here in another 2 weeks.